Hi there everyone, Laurel here, and welcome to day one of my 25 days of Christmas video series. That's right, 25 videos in 25 days. Whew. So let's get right to it. I'm super excited. The series is hosted here on my YouTube channel. So the first video is all about backgrounds. I'm going to show you how you can create beautiful ink blended backgrounds and then take some of those backgrounds and turn them into cards. I'm going to use Distress Oxides today because I've been playing with them a lot recently and they were on my desk. They blend beautifully, beautiful colors, so why not? I'm going in with some fossilized amber. This is spiced marmalade here. Now the oxides are kind of a hybrid ink. They're a pigment dye blend, if you will, and this is picked raspberry, by the way. So they go on beautifully. You can do a lot of techniques with them. You can stamp with them. They'll give you very even stamping and water reactive like distress inks, but you can layer colors on top of colors with these oxides without your colors turning muddy. For example, if you were to mix a pink and a yellow together with traditional watercolors or dye inks, you're going to get brown. You're going to get mud. With these inks, you don't have that. That's one of the properties of the oxides. You just have to make sure that your inks are good and dry before you start layering one on top of the other. But it's brilliant, so you don't have to worry about, things turning to mud if you're like me and maybe don't really know what colors are supposed to go together. You know what I'm saying? So this is Faded Jeans and Hickory Smoke with some Wilted Violet right there in the middle. And then I'm going to grab some Black Soot Distress ink. I don't have the oxide. I don't even know if it comes in an oxide. So I went ahead and got some of the Distress ink to go around the edges, that black soot there, just to deepen that background. And then I just go in and blend over the harsh lines if there are any. This is Blueprint Sketch, Faded Jeans, and Wilted Violet. And you can see like my circles, like I'm purposely trying to bounce my blending tool so you can see some of the circles. But you can see when I blend right over it, the outlines of the foam tool, which is the circle, it goes away. That's why I just love these oxides. They're very forgiving. They do come up on your hand, the ink, so you'll see me from time to time grab a cloth because I kept leaving my fingerprints on my inked backgrounds, which isn't a problem if it's dry, but when you go on, they're still wet. So that's why there I am grabbing the cloth again. Oh yeah. So anyway, they blend like butter. See, I'm going in and giving you dots. See all those little purple dots? That's not pretty. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you could create a bokeh background with like an eraser, the top of your pencil, and create a beautiful bokeh background, or bokeh, I don't know. But that's not what I was doing today. So here are these two backgrounds, and I am just going to take a paintbrush and dip it into some Perfect Pearls, which is a perfect pearl pigment powder and water mixed together in a bottle. And then I'm just flicking that on my paintbrush, and then I'm going to be left with these beautiful, beautiful, sparkly backdrops, almost like snow. So I've got those backgrounds to use at another time. We're not going to actually use those backgrounds to create a card in this video, but I will use them throughout the video series. Now this is a piece of decorative acetate that I had in my stash. I had a 12 by 12 and I cut it down and let my daughter play with it, but I cut a strip because I'm going to use it to do some ink mushing. So I've got candied apple, ripe persimmon, and picked raspberry there, and I just pressed it directly down onto that piece of acetate. Clear plastic would work as well. I just had this left over from her playing with it. It's really pretty too. So then I'm going to flip it over and just press it right down onto my cardstock. Now all the card panels that I'm doing today are Ranger watercolor cardstock, in case I did not mention that, and I do not think I did. So here I am just going around and pressing it, and that looks like a hot mess, but I liked doing it this way because I could see where I'm going, and for the card I'm making, I needed to make sure I knew what I was doing and where I was putting my colors and whatnot. Use your stamp packaging, plastic, anything like that would work for you. So now it's all dry, and look how pretty it is. It wasn't that pretty when it's wet, but when it dry, it kind of softens up, and the oxides leave like this chalky look, but it's not a chalky finish. I just love it. This is the Flourishes background stamp set from Catherine Pooler. I just spritzed it with water. Then I'm taking that panel there and pressing it directly onto the stamp. I'm giving it good pressure. I want to make sure that the water has time to transfer onto the paper and kind of seep in just a little bit, because we're basically stamping with water here. Because these oxides are water reactive, you can stamp with water and you'll get that beautiful look. Now before I clean that stamp, I took another piece of paper and pressed down into what ink was left on that image, and look at that second print I got. It's absolutely beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then I kind of dried a little bit of it with the heat tool because I wanted to move some of those puddles around, but you can see the very watercolored-esque flourish background on the heavily inked panel. And then I just think that second print that we got just from taking our cardstock and pressing it into that stamp before I cleaned it or did nothing to it. I think it's beautiful, personally. That's what I think. So now I've got these two panels here. I cut the one that the print down a little bit, and I'm putting on some liquid glue, and I'm going to adhere it right to that beautiful panel there where we did the stamping with the water. I could have also made two separate cards here if I wanted to get 2 for 1, but I wanted to kind of layer this up a little bit. I just think it's absolutely beautiful, and I love how those 3 colors work together. This is a stamp set called Wonderful Time of the Year, also from Catherine Pooler. It's got that big, huge sentiment in it, and this card didn't need much because of that stunning background. So I'm just going to take that big sentiment. I'm using my Misty stamping tool here, which is a great tool to have for any stamping needs. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do with the Misty stamping tool, and I have a video coming on that soon, but it's after the video series. But anyway, you get perfect placement every time. So I inked up that stamp with Versamark ink, stamped it, and this is some gorgeous embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. It's Emerald City or Emerald, and it's got green and gold in it. It's gorgeous, gorgeous. Love it. And that's this card. First card done. Check it out. You can see that sparkle and shine, and you can pick up those little bits of gold in it. It's so pretty against that gorgeous background there. Now this is also a die set from Catherine Pooler. It's called the Joy Wreath, and I'm going to be using Here We Come a Caroling stamp set, and has a coordinating die as well for the rest of the cards here. So I went ahead and die cut that beautiful wreath with some media paper, and that's paper that basically works with watercolors, sprays, markers, whatever floats your boat. And I'm spraying that on with some Altene sprays. I first went in with the gold spray, and then I went in with the red. And by the way, that red exploded all over my desk. I had to pause and go wash my hands. I look like I just killed something because of all the red. But anyway, so once that's good and dry, I adhered some glue on the back. I'm using the Gina K Connect glue. I like it because it's got a fine tip, and it goes on white but dries completely clear. Then I've also stamped and die cut the Santa and reindeers from that same stamp set, that coordinating die, and went ahead and adhered that down with the same glue. I'm stamping Joy to the World in Midnight Black ink, which is a permanent archival ink from Catherine Pooler. And then I'm going to take a little bit of that same ink pad, press it onto my glass surface, take a damp brush and kind of flick on some of that black ink, and then I'm also flicking on some regular water. So I flicked on black ink and regular water because these oxides are reactive to the water. I'm going to get some beautiful water flicks, but also some black paint flicks. Well, not paint, but ink flicks rather. And then I'm going in with some Nuvo drops. This is in Ruby Red or Red Slippers or something like that. And going in and putting all that on the berries. Now Nuvo drop, here's the trick. When you put it down, you might get little peaks at the top. To flatten it out, all you have to do is give it a good, there you can see my peaks, give it a good whack once or twice onto your desk or whatever you're working off of, and they just settle down and form perfect little mouths. So just give it a whack. And here's this card. Let's move on to the third card now. This is a stencil from Brutus Monroe. It's called Simple Blends, and they have a circle, an oval, and a square. So you get this negative space, which I'm working with, but you also get the regular circle as well. I wanted to create a moon, so I'm using that stencil, and I'm just got a wet cloth there, and I'm just kind of removing or lifting up that oxide ink just to create a beautiful white moon. This was an afterthought. If you follow me, you know I just kind of wing things. Wing it. I don't go in with any kind of plan, but I thought a moon would be pretty with that background. So enter the stencil, and because I used the oxide, I was able to just remove that ink very easily with a damp cloth. Don't heavily saturate it. Going in and stamping, I love silhouette images, black on a colored background. I just love it. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to be using all Midnight ink here and different images from the same stamp set. Like I said, I'm using the same stamp set for the rest of the cards. I have a thing for Santa and the reindeer, of course, because here I go inking it up again. I'm going to kind of place it over the moon there. You also, all these images have coordinating die cuts as well. So if you want to go that extra step and do some die cutting, you absolutely can with this stamp set as well. Got 2 little kids there singing, so I've stamped in the kids and the music note. Again, digging the silhouette style. You could also heat emboss these images as well if you wanted some of that extra dimension and shine from the heat embossing. Taking that stencil, putting it back in place, and just tracing around the moon with a white gel pen for a very subtle look here. Going to make sure everything's good and dry. I am going to flick on some more perfect pearls to create, I don't know, like a starry night or whatnot, and then that completes this card. I also took some Hickory Smoke Distress Oxides and inked blended it under the little people because I needed to be standing on something. And last but not least, the fourth card here. This was, I believe, Faded Jeans, Peacock Feathers, and Lucky Clover maybe. I'm going to take the second tree from that stamp set and stamp those trees. I stamped it once and then stamped it again without re-inking to kind of get a softer look. Then I'm going to stamp the little kid singing and the dog. Got to stamp the little doggy, little woof woof. This image also has some stars, so I'm going to ink that up with some white pigment ink. This is pigment ink from the 10 Stamps. And at first I was kind of thinking about where I wanted to place the stars. This could also be snow. And then I said, oh, I'm putting it everywhere. So I went over the trees. I went over, over the stars. I just had a good old time. You'll see at the end, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to kind of put it everywhere. I'm going to scatter it and make it look organic. Then I'm going to take the Merry Christmas, which I love this font. I love it. Ink it up with the same Midnight Black ink to finish off this card. That's where my Misty saved me because I did not have good stamping the first time. That was my fault. This is Black Tie Gala paper from Catherine Pooler, and using some glue to adhere that down, and then I adhered the inked panel down to that. And then I'm taking some glitter accents. This is Snowfall. It's from Nuvo. And I thought putting some snow down would look good. And it's also covering up my boo-boo because I did not do proper cutting. So the bottom of my card, the width of the pattern paper was showing than the top of my card. Does that make sense? Basically about 1/2 inch of the pattern paper was showing at the bottom and only 1/4 inch was showing at the top. It looked kind of wonky, so enter glitter snow. I saved the day. You can always find a way to save the day, I'm telling you. And no one would have known the wiser, but I just told you guys all in the video. I make mistakes all the time, and I always try to find a way to salvage my projects. So that completes my very first video for the video series. I have a whole bunch of stuff already pre-filmed and ready to go. We're going to be focusing on all different kinds of things, tags inside of cards, pop-ups, freehand painting. I'm actually going to freehand paint something, which is, whoa for me, big deal. So stay with me, 25 videos in 25 days to get you geared up and ready for your Christmas holiday cards. I will also create a playlist, and as each video publishes, I will make sure to drop the video into the playlist so you can find all the videos in order in one place for you. So I will see you tomorrow. Fa la 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 la.